In the headlines, Prime Minister Skerrit urges the opposition to call for a cessation of civil disobedience led by UWP supporters. Opposition leader Lennox Linton says the protest action in Marigot is linked to a long list of grievances yet to be addressed. And election observers on the ground as the country holds general elections on Friday. I am Andrea Levy with the Channel 5 News, back with the details after this.
Flow helps you stay connected to what matters. Simple plans and a better network mean that you can enjoy 7 days of unlimited social messaging, 3 gigabytes of reliable data to use as you like, 700 local anywhere calls and texts with the always-on prepaid plan, all for $29. Keep your number when you switch to Dominica's most reliable LTE network. Buy wherever you top up. Switch to Flow. It only gets better.
Here are some tips to reduce mosquito presence in and around your home. Keep water storage containers properly covered. Remove containers that can collect water from your surroundings. Keep garbage bins tightly covered. Pick up your litter and remove all tires from your yard. Keep gutters free of leaves and twigs to prevent stagnant water. Prevent Zika, dengue, and chikungunya. Fight the bite. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
This message is supported by Flow.
A new in-home experience is here. All your services bundled into one simple plan. Faster, more reliable Wi-Fi so that you can binge, play, and stream uninterrupted. Unlimited Flow local landline minutes mean you can talk and talk and talk. Plus the best in TV entertainment with over 120 channels and 29 in HD. All for $160 a month with the new all-in bundle. With Flow, it only gets better.
Thank you for staying with us. First up, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit has appealed to opposition leader Lennox Linton and former Prime Minister Edison James to condemn the actions carried out by protesters in Marigot on Monday. Roads were blocked and debris set on fire following the issuance of a bench warrant for the opposition leader and former UWP leader Edison James for failing to show up in court at the stipulated time. The Prime Minister addressed the nation Monday night after cancelling all DLP political meetings.
2 days ago, a UWP supporter was intercepted with a truckload of old tires. UWP lawyers very quickly went to his defense. Where was he headed with the tires and for what purpose? On Sunday, as decent Dominicans were going home from church, they were treated to calypsos with the worst kinds of expletives on the UWP platform, and not a single UWP candidate, including those who profess to be Christians, or the leader, asked the performing calypsonian to stop or conduct himself with decorum on their platform. None of them apologized for something that they should never have allowed. And now this morning, we have the lawlessness at Marigot. These are the acts of a desperate man and party who know they are losing and are trying to pull the country down with them. They are using a small group of supporters, lawful and unlawful means, to try to intimidate the general public and to try to create a negative narrative for the outside world. Their ultimate goal is to stop an election that they cannot win in the ballot box.
The Prime Minister says the actions taken in Marigot had very real consequences.
I mean, here's a gentleman, I know him very well. He's from Calibishi. You know, he came from being dialyzed at the hospital and had to stay in his vehicle for several hours in the heat. You see what I'm saying? And this is a senior citizen, a man who worked in the public service, for over 40 years and had to be subjected to this today. You had students who were coming from exams and teachers who were coming from school. You saw several tourists had to be dragging their suitcases across debris and to people who were coming to Dominica to spend money to stay in the hotels. The taxi man at the airport did not make money today because people could not be transported to and from the airport. The farmers who had to get their produce to the markets were denied that opportunity. Dominicans who were going out and who were coming in, going out of Dominica, coming into Dominica were impacted. People had to be dragging their suitcases across the streets and in many instances even being verbally abused and verbally attacked. We saw the treatment of His Lordship the Bishop.
Yes.
What provocation. This is similar to what they did to Ambassador Henderson in Washington. To have walked in a man's face like this, the brother of the leader of the opposition, walking and following the bishop, in his face, shouting at him. The bishop is going about his daily life as a citizen of a resident of this country. People have freedom of movement, freedom of association, I'm hoping that the priests, I would like to hear from the priests.
Yes.
A lot of the priests, some of the priests like to pontificate and all kind of things. I'd like to hear what they have to say. The Evangelical Association, what are you going to say about this? People normally have great respect for a bishop, irrespective of what religion you subscribe to. And the man is going about his business with no provocations on, and he's being verbally abused, verbally assaulted by the brother of Mr. Linton. I am calling on Lennox Linton, Edison James, and the UWP to bring an end to this lawlessness. I am calling on them to tell their supporters to stop. I am calling on Linton and the UWP to put Dominica first. Fellow Dominicans, this is part of a pattern. I have spoken to it before. In the last few days, we've been hearing the UWP has something planned to disrupt elections. The UWP stopped electoral reform from taking place with violent protests outside Parliament on May 23, 2017, and by bringing an injunction in the law courts in September 2018 to stop Parliament from passing the legislation for electoral reform. Having blocked the electoral reform, the UWP is using its supporters to daily protest the lack of reform, the very thing which they have blocked.
In related news, leader of the opposition United Workers' Party has spoken out on the incidents in Marigot on Monday. Julian Morris has that story.
Pictures and videos have been circulating on social media showing roadblocks and fires in Marigot as a form of protest by the people. Leader of the opposition and Member of Parliament for the Marigot constituency, Lennox Linton, says the action on Monday is in response to a build-up of issues, including what he says are concerns with the road network, the distribution of funds, and the court case against himself and the former Prime Minister Edison James.
What happened in Marigot yesterday didn't start yesterday. I don't know if any member of the media or any member of the public of Dominica outside of Marigot and the District of the Northeast understands what it means for your hospital to be shut down for termite infestation by administration in 2014, and 5 years later, promise after promise after unfulfilled promise, there is still no hospital and still no proper arrangements for health care delivery in the constituency. No people anywhere else in Dominica have been more patient, have been more understanding, have been more tolerant, have been more thinking than the people of Marigot.
When asked if he condemns or condones the action of the people of Marigot on Monday, this is what Mr. Linton had to say.
That we are party of peace, we advocate peace, we preach peace. Peace is part of the way we operate, it's part of our modus operandi. But justice is also part of our modus operandi, also informs how we operate. And the people of Marigot are standing for issues of justice that need to be addressed. The justice issues for the people of Marigot are clear and need to be addressed before we start talking anything about peace. So yes, I support peace in Marigot and everywhere else in Dominica, but I support justice first. And where people rise and stand for justice, I don't have a moral obligation to be talking peace, because I've been long enough on this world to know there really cannot be any peace without justice.
Meantime, President of the United Workers' Party, Isaac Baptiste, says he supports the action of the Marigot people on Monday.
We made it abundantly clear to the President and those present that while we support and encourage peaceful demonstration by those who are concerned with what's happening in Dominica, once the injustice remains and those in authority are failing to act, we of the United Workers' Party have no objection in the people deciding that they can and will act and be civil disobedience as far as their action is concerned. But it would appear that the only thing that this government understands is for the people to take action peacefully, but doing so in a manner that will force them to understand that they are serious. The people have a right to take action that will ensure that they get what they want. Civil disobedience has to be part of it, and I have no objection in supporting that action.
In more top stories, Ambassador Vince Henderson says it is a sensitive time not only for the democratic process, but also for the country's economy.
Think of how much we had to spend to get Dominica back for the tourism sector to get, fully operational. Think of the new investments that we have in hotels, the Jungle Bay operating, the Kempinski Hotel operating, the investments that local Dominicans had to make to get their properties back in operation. And when you have something like that happening at the beginning of the tourism season, it could have a severe impact on the ability of the country to benefit from the tourism dollar. And remember, it was only a few weeks ago the U.S. sent out an alert. I mean, it was just a few weeks ago. Fortunately, it did not have a major impact on the cruise ships, because we still continue to see the ships coming in.
Ambassador Henderson says with a number of cruise ships expected to call here this week, any more street protests and roadblocks could have serious implications for the tourism sector.
These cruise lines have been calling us,
Yes.
They've been calling us to ascertain what is taking place and whether their ships are safe to dock in Dominica.
Yeah.
I have had the opportunity on numerous occasions to assure them and even reassuring them that the country is safe. You say something, the country is safe. And Vince is right. That is what these guys are trying to create. They're trying to create an environment where people will feel that the country is not safe. And if the country is not safe, people won't come. If people don't come, then we'll be out of work.
And also to create a situation where the police have to come out, men in military fatigues with guns, standing around the street corners, trying to keep the peace, and then they will cry, oh, the elections were not free and fair because the people were intimidated. And this, so you could see the narrative, those guys are created. I mean, clearly this is straight out of a playbook of some guys who out there manipulating them and pulling their strings. Because what happened today was by no accident. I mean, it was orchestrated. And, the good thing, I know a lot of Dominicans out there, people call, people message, people concerned. It's just a small number, as you said, PM. It's a minority group in the UWP who are creating that kind of mischief. The sad thing is that the leadership of the UWP is fully behind this. They have not dissociated themselves. As a matter of fact, they have taken ownership of what's happening. They have made it clear that they're on the side of the people. Well, last time they blamed the young people, but this time they're saying they're on the side of the people. That kind of lawlessness cannot be encouraged in the country. And there are a number of UWP supporters, just like you had that experience here, who have said, boy, you see this thing there? I really have me rethinking whether I can continue to support a party like that.
You are watching the Channel 5 News. Stay tuned for more after the break.
A new in-home experience is here. All your services bundled into one simple plan. Faster, more reliable Wi-Fi so that you can binge, play, and stream uninterrupted. Unlimited Flow local landline minutes mean you can talk and talk and talk. Plus the best in TV entertainment with over 120 channels and 29 in HD. All for $160 a month with the new all-in bundle. With Flow, it only gets better.
If you're HIV positive or have an STI, having unprotected sex with multiple partners puts them in grave danger. You'll expose every partner and their present and future partners to HIV or another STI. Use a condom every time you have sex. You can live a productive life even if diagnosed with HIV. Remember, early detection is key to your survival. Be responsible, protect yourself and others. Help stop the spread of HIV and other STIs.
There's a reason you get up on a morning. A reason you pick yourself up, start the day. Maybe it's sheer grit. Maybe it's your ethics. Maybe it's because you know people like you are waiting for people just like you. We all have our reasons, and for Republic Bank, that reason is you. Every little thing, every big thing, it's all about making a difference in your life. Because after 182 years, if it's one thing we're sure about, is that the difference is you. We're here to help.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Flow helps you stay connected to what matters. Simple plans and a better network mean that you can enjoy 7 days of unlimited social messaging, 3 gigabytes of reliable data to use as you like, 700 local anywhere calls and texts, with the always-on prepaid plan, all for $29. Keep your number when you switch to Dominica's most reliable LTE network. Buy wherever you top up. Switch to Flow. It only gets better.
Welcome back. A number of election observers are already on the ground for Friday's general elections. A Commonwealth Observer group arrived in Dominica late last month following an invitation from Prime Minister Skerrit. The observer group was expected to meet with election management officials, representatives of political parties, civil society groups, and others. The election observers are also here to monitor the election environment, including related court proceedings and polling day preparations.
We have observers all over the place. So we have the Commonwealth here, the Commonwealth observers here. We have CARICOM observers here. We have the OAS here, and I believe the OAS delegation is led by the former Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas,
Hubert Ingram.
Honorable Hubert Ingram, the Right Honorable Hubert Ingram. We have the United Nations here. We just invited a group of scholars, is an organization made up of scholars and intellectuals and former leaders of Latin America. So they're coming in as well with a group. So we have several observers there. You've been seeing them. They've been at the political meetings. Some of them, I've seen them around. And I believe that they have a schedule to meet with a whole wide range of stakeholders. I'm not sure if Vince want to speak more on this. But we have observers here, and they will be facilitated to go wherever they wish and to see whoever they want to see. And they're independent. They don't take directives from the government.
Right.
They have asked to see me. I have agreed to see them. But we don't tell them to go over there, see this person, talk to that person.
Yes.
They decide who they want, and they make direct contact to these people. I mean, they've even made direct contact to the Labour Party. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know.
And PM, it's important to say, right at that point, that observers will only come in if you invite them.
Yeah.
And I think it's commendable that the party in government, the Dominican Labour Party, has invited. There's no obligation. Let's just make it clear. There is no obligation in law to invite observers. It is
or in any treaty. Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
It's the sovereign right of a country whether or not it wants to invite observers. So it is free to do that. And Prime Minister Skerrit is the first Prime Minister in Dominica to invite the OAS to observe our elections. He did it in 2009 and then again in 2014. And we have this time invited the observers. So even when we went to Washington, we were still considering whether or not to invite the OAS. And you know, by the following week, the Prime Minister had made his mind, had decided, and his cabinet, to invite the observers. So it is something that we're doing because we have nothing to hide. We have nothing to be afraid of. We're prepared to open up and let observers come in. It is also governed by an agreement between the observer mission and the state. So the Prime Minister cannot tell them where to go, where not to go. Yes. So they have two agreements, for example. They signed one with the Electoral Commission, and that will govern how they interact with the Commission, visiting of polling stations, visiting of the office, of the Electoral Office, and just basically observing the whole process. So that is one. And the second agreement is with the government. And that is basically giving them the immunity and the freedom, which is very important. They are protected by the Vienna Convention, so they're protected by international treaty, and the state will sign up to say, yeah, it's free. You can go along and do whatever. You can't be prosecuted. You can't be arrested. And you're free to observe, and we're not going to hold anything that you do in the course of your duties against you. So it gives them the kind of independence that they need to do their work.
Minister for Family and Gender Affairs is applauding Dominica's efforts towards developing a child justice bill. Minister Catherine Daniel was speaking at a capacity building training of the OECS USAID Juvenile Justice Reform Project earlier this week.
I am heartened to know that reform measures of the existing legislation will soon result in the passage into law of the Child Justice Bill. That bill places heavy emphasis on diversion, which is a form of sentence in the criminal justice system, whereby an offender joins rehabilitation program which will help remedy one's behavior. Some of you as practitioners will in one way or another be engaged in those diversion programs.
Focal point for the Juvenile Justice Reform Project, JJRP, Martin Anthony, says the Child Justice Bill will be in the best interest of the youth.
The present Child Justice Bill attempts to do just that in the area of diversion, meaning that when a young person comes before the court, there'll be a two-tier system. There'll be an initial inquiry as proposed under the bill, whereby if a child claims responsibility at that stage, the child would be diverted from the wider court system. But there's also the part of the provision of the bill where if you do not claim responsibility after attempts at the first stage, then you will go to the wider court setting, which also has a dimension for diversion.
Martin explained that provisions are being made in the Child Justice Bill to keep juveniles out of the wider court system.
I'm quick to say that there are certain offenses according to the schedule under the bill that you will not go to initial inquiry. You may very well go to the wider court system based on the offense which has been committed. If it's an offense of manslaughter or an offense of murder, you will not go into the initial inquiry stage, but will go based on the schedule of the act and which guides the particular offenses which will be taken at a particular stage. Then those more serious offenses, you will then go to the wider court setting. But all in an attempt to divert children from the criminal justice reform, the wider court setting as indicated.
And the 2019 hurricane season being described as a quiet one for Dominica. Here is Julian Morris with more.
The season, which ran from 1st June to 30th November as initially forecast by NOAA to be near normal with 9 to 15 named storms and 2 to 4 major hurricanes. Weather forecaster with the Dominican Meteorological Service, Vernie Marcelin Honoré, says while the season was above normal for the region, it was quiet for Dominica.
The 2019 season began ahead of the official June 1st start with the development of subtropical storm Andrea on May 20th. By November 30th, the official end of the season, 18 named storms had formed, of which 6 became hurricanes and 3 became major hurricanes. The seasonal long-term average is 12 named storms, 6 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. Overall, the season was above normal. This was a relatively quiet season for Dominica, with only one tropical cyclone presenting a direct threat to the island. In August, Tropical Storm Dorian approached the Windward Islands, and this prompted the issue of a Tropical Storm Watch on August 25th. On the 27th, Dorian passed about 90 miles south of the island, and the watch was discontinued that afternoon.
Dominica also fared well during September, which is the peak of the hurricane season.
In September, both Tropical Storm Jerry and Tropical Storm Karen generated swells across the Lesser Antilles. Karen resulted in coastal flooding along the west coast of the island from the 22nd to the 25th. As we have observed over the years, many high rainfall events during the season, which resulted in localized flooding, were as a result of troughs and not tropical cyclone activity.
The weather forecaster is urging the Dominican public to remain vigilant and up to date on weather information, despite the season having officially come to an end.
The Dominica Meteorological Service continues to express the need for members of the public to always remain informed on weather which may become impactful. It is only then that decisive actions to safeguard life and property can be taken. Such information, which includes various warning levels, can be sourced through the Met Services website, weather.gov.dm, its Facebook page, or by calling any one of the offices at Canefield Airport 449-1752 or Douglas Charles 445-7878.
Flow helps you stay connected to what matters. Simple plans and a better network mean that you can enjoy 7 days of unlimited social messaging, 3 gigabytes of reliable data to use as you like, 700 local anywhere calls and texts with the always-on prepaid plan, all for $29. Keep your number when you switch to Dominica's most reliable LTE network. Buy wherever you top up. Switch to Flow. It only gets better.
Here are some tips to reduce mosquito presence in and around your home. Keep water storage containers properly covered. Remove containers that can collect water from your surroundings. Keep garbage bins tightly covered. Pick up your litter and remove all tires from your yard. Keep gutters free of leaves and twigs to prevent stagnant water. Prevent Zika, dengue, and chikungunya. Fight the bite. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
This message is supported by Flow.
A new in-home experience is here. All your services bundled into one simple plan. Faster, more reliable Wi-Fi so that you can binge, play, and stream uninterrupted. Unlimited Flow local landline minutes mean you can talk and talk and talk. plus the best in TV entertainment with over 120 channels and 29 in HD, all for $160 a month with the new all-in bundle. With Flow, it only gets better.
To end the news, the headlines again. Prime Minister Scarrett urges the opposition to call for a cessation of civil disobedience led by UWP supporters. Opposition leader Lennox Linton says the protest action in Marigot is linked to a long list of grievances yet to be addressed. And election observers on the ground as the country holds the general elections on Friday. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Andrea Louis, and to all of our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Join us next time.